Are you getting ready for the birth of a child and want to know how to prepare your partner for labor?
Or maybe you're a dad who's looking for ways to support your partner during labor.
Then stay tuned, because in today's video, we're going to be talking all about how to prepare to support your partner during labor and delivery. If you're new to my channel, then welcome. My name's Jess, and I'm a former early childhood teacher and a mom who's passionate about helping moms of little ones navigate the world of early motherhood. Here on The Innovative Mama, you'll find helpful videos on pregnancy and the early years, as well as fun and educational activities for little ones. So make sure to subscribe and click that notification bell so that you don't miss any new uploads. Today I have a special guest. This is my husband Mike, and he'll be helping me out with this video. So without further ado, let's get into our top 5 support tips for birth partners. Tip number 1 is to educate yourself. Whether online or in person, I definitely recommend attending some type of class with your birth partner. Mike and I opted to take an online class together, which we were able to do from the comfort of our own home.
I like this because we were able to go at our own pace. We could stop the lesson, talk about different topics, what we think might or may not work for us, and I don't think we would have the luxury of doing that if it was out somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. If you feel you need more hands-on support, you might want to consider an in-person class. These are often offered at hospitals and birthing centers. There are also classes offered based on various birthing methods. So if you're looking into something specific, such as hypnobirthing or the Bradley method or Lamaze, you can ask your doctor or midwife for recommendations or more information, or just do an online search for classes in your area. But definitely take a class that's right for you. Mike and I chose to do the Love Your Labor course, which focuses on drug-free natural childbirth, because this was a goal of mine. I will leave a link below in the description box if you want to check out the course, so you can do that if you're interested. However, just because you have your heart set on a particular birth plan does not mean this is how your birth will go. So be sure to educate yourself on other methods as well. I actually wound up having an induction, which was not part of my original birth plan. So I'm really glad I educated myself about all different situations when it comes to birth. If you're interested, you can check out my epidural-free induction story after this video. I'll leave a link in the description box to that as well. So tip number 2 is to communicate. Communication is a huge part of preparing for your birth with your partner. If this is your first birth, there's definitely going to be some apprehension from both sides. So communication can help you convey your thoughts, hopes, and fears about labor, childbirth, and even being a parent.
So here are some specific topics of communication you'll want to discuss with your partner before birth.
The first is fears. The thought of childbirth can be very scary. There are many fears first-time parents have about the actual birth and parenthood itself. So discuss these fears with your partner. Let them know what you're afraid of, because sometimes even just talking about it can help.
Don't forget, dads are scared too. Just because we aren't physically having the baby doesn't mean we aren't scared as well and have our own fears. So make sure you hear your partner's concerns too.
So the next topic to communicate about is expectations. You may have a plan for your birth, but like I said earlier, that doesn't always go as you expect. So it's important for your partner to know what your hopes and expectations are for his or her behavior, as well as for your birth. Your birth partner is often your advocate that communicates what you want when you can't do so effectively during labor. So make sure that your partner is aware of your wishes.
I think that was definitely helpful, knowing what you wanted beforehand.
So think about what you expect from your partner during your labor. Do you want them next to you at all times? Do you want them speaking positive words or affirmations to you? Or do you want them to be silent? How about touching? Would you like them to be hands-on or standing further away, just watching a bit from a distance? Everyone wants different things, so just make sure you let your partner know what you think you may want. It is very possible that you won't know until you're in that situation, and that's okay too. So just a funny story about my birth. One of the techniques I used to combat pain was having a fine-toothed comb in my hand. You have acupressure points in your hand, and one of the things I was doing was every time I would have a contraction, I would squeeze the comb really hard, and it basically sends signals to your brain that helps your brain kind of forget about the contractions, even though you're not really forgetting about them, but it helped me.
Counteract the pain, but towards when she got to, transition?
So this is when I was really towards the end, about 7 to 10 or 8 to 10 centimeters. Things got really ugly, and Mike tried to put the comb.
Yeah, so I gave her the comb, and she didn't want it, and made that very well known by throwing it across the room, almost hitting me with it.
So I kind of screamed and just chucked the comb at him. He was trying to do his best, but again, I was in that moment, and what had worked for me earlier in my labor. I just didn't want it at that moment, and Mike was trying to like shove it in my hand for me, trying to be hopeful, and I just like kind of like freaked out and screamed and threw it across the room. So it was really funny, but that's like the only time I really freaked out, I think, during my birth experience. Right. So again, just make sure you're communicating this as much as possible. And like I said, you might not know until you're actually in that situation what worked for me earlier didn't work for me at that point. I just couldn't effectively communicate it, unfortunately.
I got the message.
He did get the message. So another communication point is about having other people in the room. Do you want other people in the room with you when you're laboring? Or how about when you're giving birth? Keep in mind, there's usually a limit to how many people you may have in the room while giving birth, and you're usually limited to one person if you're having a C-section. So make sure you let your partner know if there's anyone else you feel strongly about being in the room with you, when you want them in there, and what roles they are to take during the process. If you do choose to have another person besides your birth partner, it's important to discuss your expectations with them as well. I chose to have my mom in the room with us because she had gone through 2 epidural-free births, so she kind of knew what I was going through. And Mike was super supportive of this decision, and he actually was happy about it.
Yeah, so once we got in the thick of it during transition, I didn't really know what to expect, and she kind of just pulled me aside. She told me it was about to get really bad, which helped me mentally prepare so I knew what to expect and know what was coming, so I wasn't just like completely blindsided. So that really helped.
Yeah. The next tip is to set up what I call the Daddy Doula bag. And no, this is not your partner's bag for the hospital.
Yeah, that's right. This is your partner's bag full of tools that help you during their labor.
We had a bunch of items packed in this bag that were geared toward a drug-free birth, but if you're planning to use pain medication, you can definitely use these tools as well. We had things such as a birth plan, essential oils, positive labor affirmations. I actually have a printable of labor affirmation cards that I'll leave a link to in the description box below, so you can check those out. They were really helpful for me during labor.
A couple other things too were like massage tools, tennis balls to use counter pressure points, chapstick, and chewing gum, to name a few.
I also have all these items bundled in a kit, which you can check out on innovativefaves.com. So definitely give that a look after this video. Our next tip is to learn about acupressure points, which is a great extra for your partner to know before you go into labor. So these are various points throughout the body that offer a wide range of benefits, from pain relief to actually helping your labor progress. 2 acupressure points I loved for pain relief were my lower back and my hand. So Mike basically took like the heel of his hand while I was going through a contraction, and he would kind of like press it into my lower back, which really helped because it helped to offset the pain. And then I really liked the comb technique for the most part.
Yeah, I was able to provide those counter pressure points when she was standing at the edge of the bed or on her birth ball.
Another great job to give your birth partner during labor is to have them time your contractions, so you can tell how your labor is progressing by how far apart, consistent, and intense your contractions are. Your partner can use an app for this or just write it on paper if that's what you prefer, but I would definitely recommend learning about that beforehand. Even though Mike did learn about this beforehand, we actually didn't wind up having to do this because I was induced. So I was just hooked up to the monitors at the hospital when I was having contractions, so the machines did it all for him. So he got out of that job this time. So what do you think? Do you have any other tips?
Yeah, as far as other tips go, I would say remembering the coping mechanisms, because it's hard for your partner to know what she wants going through labor in the thick of things.
Or to know how to communicate them. Sometimes when you're having like a super bad contraction or something, it's hard to communicate.
Right, and another thing is remember those pressure point locations and practice them beforehand, because you might say, oh, of course I'll remember. When you're actually there going through it, it's a lot different.
Yeah, and I think just like, also just being strong for your partner. If you see something gross, or you're gonna see a lot of stuff probably during birth as a man or a birth partner, and if you see those things, just be quiet.
Just roll with it.
Just roll with it. Don't say anything about it.
Don't yell, oh, gross, and then run out of the room. I did not do that, by the way.
Definitely don't do that. No, Mike was really great during birth. So I'm super happy to have that I had him as my birth partner. He was really great. And I think definitely just like educating yourself before, I think that was the biggest thing. Just like educating ourselves as a couple, as a birth partner, you're the support person. So you're a very, very important part of the birth as well. It's not just the woman actually giving birth. So
just being as prepared as you possibly can just make things, even if your birth plan doesn't go as you previously had hoped for, definitely makes a world of difference. Prepared to expect the unexpected.
Yeah. So we hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please click that like button and be sure to subscribe for more videos on pregnancy and parenting tips, as well as activity ideas for little ones. If you are preparing for your birth, then we are sending you all the positive birth vibes. Definitely be sure to check out theinnovativemama.com for more pregnancy and parenting tips. I actually have a blog post about what to do in your last month of pregnancy that I will link down below. So definitely go check that out after this video. Also, be sure to check out innovativefaves.com for all of my favorite birth essentials. So I want to say a big thanks to my husband, Mike, for joining me today. And thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.